We've heard President Tharman's speech. Could you give us, what are your first impressions?
So Mr. Tharman was very careful, in his speech, to lay out in very broad terms, what are the powers of the president. So, for example, he said that on foreign policy, even though he is what we all regard as the chief diplomat, foreign policy is something that is set by the elected government of the day. But he did point out that, within this framework, that there is room, for the president to pursue causes and initiatives that he or she is passionate about. The presidency, can work with the government of the day on these sort of matters, such as building a stronger common identity, building this culture of respect for all. Even though, they don't require inputs from the government, I think he's recognizing that it is important for the president to weigh in on issues which he thinks, Singapore should work on.
In his speech as well, he mentioned the strong mandate that he got. He got 70% of the total vote share. What kind of impact do you think this will have on his presidency?
I think Mr. Tharman was very, very mindful, of the very strong endorsement that he got. Someone with that strong mandate, would be able to galvanize society, bring society along with him, on initiatives that he campaigned on. He mentioned about how the endorsement is not so much an endorsement of him, but rather an endorsement about Singaporeans' confidence in Singapore's future. There's been a lot of emphasis on the material well-being, but I think we need, alongside that material well-being, this whole idea of affection and bond for those around us, regardless of who they are. We are all bound by our common destiny and our common identity as Singaporeans.
Do you see President Tharman doing anything different with the role of the presidency than his predecessors, given that he has such a strong mandate?
We can expect the Tharman presidency to be different in some ways from that of his predecessors. It would be in the causes and initiatives that the president embarks on. So I think here we see, President Tharman, getting off on a very ambitious footing, which I think is needed. Right, so this whole idea of a whole of society change, I don't think it's something that can be done, within a 6-year presidency, but I think it is important that the first steps have been taken.
Speaking about some of the steps that he hopes to take, in his speech, he mentioned that he wanted to lend active support to the arts and to sports. What kind of active role can a president play in these areas, and what kind of impact can we expect President Tharman to make?
I think the president can certainly do a lot to raise the profile of, the arts and sports. And I think here, he's not just talking about highbrow arts, right? I think he's really talking about arts for the masses, right? And I think in sports, President Tharman will be very much at home, given that he was a very keen sportsman during his teenage years. He spoke, for example, about trying to get more Singaporeans, to play sports. And I think that's important, right? Because, it is when we see our artists and our sportsmen in action, we see them as Singaporeans, right? We won't see them as Chinese Singaporean, Malay Singaporean, or Indian Singaporean. And that is that common identity that would connect each one of us to each other.
What do you see as the one big takeaway that Singaporeans should come away from President Tharman's speech with?
I think what he was signaling in his speech was really that this is a collective effort. Everyone needs to chip in. And that was why he spoke about civil society. He spoke about ground-up initiatives. That it is something that the president, working with the government, cannot do alone. So I think it's really a call for unity.
Thank you so much, Prof. Really appreciate your time.
No, thank you for this opportunity to share my views.